Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. And as always, muchísimas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, prayers, and amazing support. From the heart, I appreciate every one of you. Do please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Now, to get into the story in hand, I want to continue on, you could say, a situation that happened in my own personal story, right? And it circles around a Billy that he's not really out there like that, more so because he has a lot going on, right? And he don't like to have things or be out there like that, right? Even though there's no denying what he is, and the Hudas are hip regardless, right? But anyways, I want to talk about Bosco from Sotel. Again, this was a situation that I personally received that I'm appeal, right? The favor per se. But I had not met the camarada or the Billy, right? Because at this time he was already in ADX, slammed. But nevertheless, there's always wiggle room, right? You might be single still walk alone, but there's still ways without touching on that, right? But anyways, it's gonna mainly concentrate on how sometimes the love people have for your homies from your neighborhood gets stomped on, gets utilized to benefit himself and not touch his heart at all for the neighborhood. You know, you ride or die for him since a child, right? But anyways, again, I was already on the streets, right? This is when we were, you could say, going back and forth. Again, we were opening up avenues. We didn't have established pipelines yet, but we had the avenues already, right? Well, we wanted to get them. And, you know, this Billy right here, I know he's from Sotel, but I'll be sincere, he's the first individual I heard from this neighborhood, and I don't mean no disrespect. I just personally never ran into camaradas from there, right? Till they told me I knew who he was, but I did not know his neighborhood or nothing like that, mainly because, that don't really exist no more with them. But nevertheless, he had a lot of hool when it came with La 18, Crazy Riders, um, and he was out there in Diamond Street, right? And I don't know the distances to this neighborhood. I just know they're in that area, right? But again, we were in Mexico, so there was camaradas from just these three neighborhoods I will concentrate on. They went back and forth, and we connected what was precios, calidad, and they would take care of the rest, right? So the money would be right. But for those that are familiar with this area, Diamond Street, I'm not really familiar with, right? But when it comes to 18th Street, man, if you're sitting back, supplying them, you're making bank, right? Not just of the loyalty there, but of the movement, the gente, right? That's there. And crazy riders, like I stated before, I have family from this neighborhood. So I know they have wiggle room to make feria, right? So even if it was like this individual was doing it, which was, I ain't gonna collect the percentage. Of course, I'll put that shield, right? Of nobody else, getting at your neighborhood. You're under me, and all you have to do is just buy the material from me. But just so you get an idea, right? At this time, from the things we were helping out with, right? So we went up to the bodegas and made sure they tapped into the avenue. And, when it came to queso, which was what they were requiring the most, right? We're leaving it for $300. And once you went across that, just if you sell it whole, right? You guys, I don't know. I've been away for a minute, so I couldn't even touch on the prices now, but below 800 ain't gonna go, right? So there's a big margin of winning there, right? If you just have a lot of people just getting it from you. But of course, you're gonna have two, three camaradas, you know, breaking down and making more feria that are strictly under it's your weight, right? But anyways, I'm going to touch on what this episode's about, right? Just I was just giving you a background. It was well, at least when this occurred, we had already been, you could say, dealing, right? Again, the material wasn't mine. I was just making sure they tapped in right to the right avenue. Because again, is why I gave everything up to go over there, right? So, a couple times I had, you say, the pleasure of speaking and getting them appeals, and I was the cha-cha told to answer, right? In my letter again, the dummy, right? Things ricocheted, they were going to be on me, which is part of, right? But anyways, to get to the point, basically, he had a brother-in-law, stranger from Diamond Street. He was the one that was making him strong in that neighborhood. Not only by pulling camaradas from here, but as well as putting his material on the streets, as breaking down and making extra feria, right, for the Billy Bosco. Again, I don't know the distance. All I know that what happened was they were at a party, and two camaradas, from 18th Street, which well, one they called Boxer, and the other one I'll just say T, right? They went out there to party, and I guess it got hectic. I don't know the friendships among them or the problems, right? But it got hectic, and between this issue, right, someone got stabbed from Diamond Street, and nothing mattered. After that, the neighborhood started being targeted. In the sense that you're not only buying from me, but now you're giving me a third of what you're buying from me. So they were double dipping, and it was all done as a punishment, right? As you guys know, them type of punishment comes with either a lose, or you tell camaradas to take out their own homeboy to clean it up. Again, though, they didn't know the individuals, right? That's why I'll just leave them as T. But nobody knew who was there at that party. You guys get it? So he did what he did against 18th Street. But here's the kicker. Even after they were doing what they were doing, he still greenlighted them. But he did it not in an open field, right? Like usual, Usually it gets around fast, right? So that everybody has action to him. He told the people out here in Mexico, right? Billy's camaradas, so that when they would come out here to Mexico, they would have something coming. But again, these vatos were smarter than that, right? Like, like a month passed after this issue, and a lot of negative talk started happening with his family member from Diamond Street. He basically started abusing his power, which it comes with the territory, right? Not a lot of people, not gonna say everyone, but not a lot of people can maintain that power without becoming a tyrant. That's what he started, pressing that line in neighborhoods. I was just talking to a good friend, right, about this, and it's funny, right, how things became. I was a kid when already out there doing my thing, but when it was being told that the EME was demanding no more drive-bys among Raza, or they were gonna get it, Greenlight, right, and then apply to us, because you couldn't tell norteños to play by rules that they weren't gonna care, right? Nevertheless, again, I have a lot of family, right, from down south, and I remember even as a kid, I thought about it, be like, damn, how they're gonna open this window? This window's gonna lead to no coming back. And look at what it is now. How give you an example, right? And it's just an example. It's like my neighborhood, right? We're in the Bay Area. At least in my times on the streets, there was no conversation amongst us, right? Again, on the streets, it was on sight, don't matter who was around. And to have an individual that by his own mouth is saying that he's above Sureño, that their own thing, will send someone, for example, let's say they send a norteño into my neighborhood, and that norteño's gonna tell my neighborhood, I call the shots in your neighborhood. You're gonna pay rent to me. Ain't none of you could do anything about it because it's where we're at, right? It just makes no sense if you really sit down and think about it. What would you call it? But it was what this individual was doing, basically, you know. He knew he had that protection from the Billy Bosco and was making good feria, right? He was also collecting again from these three neighborhoods specifically. And Bosco was needed, not needed him, but fiending for him, if you guys get what I'm saying. So he would go into neighborhood, rival neighborhoods, and press on that line. You know, one time, homies from Crazy Riders went over there, and I want to say, you know, I don't know where he's at. I don't know what happened with him at the end, but I was with this individual. I stated it before for those that been with me for a while. He was with me in Tehachapi. He was a little, not todo ahí, but he was a good individual. He was programming, he was writing, he was in the shoe for holding the gente down, right? So they went out there to pick up. Again, this family member, that's why he felt more than what he was in reality. So they went over to pick up, and I guess he was disrespectful. And this camarada from Crazy Riders, you know, fresh out the pinta, respect is big regardless what it was. And he shot him. He didn't kill the vato from Diamond, right? But he still shot him up close a couple times. His intentions was take his win, right? But not too many people shoot and stick around and finish the job, right? They tend to shoot and take off, just being sincere. And to me, right, homeboy from Diamond Street, he said too much. I read the paperwork, he said too much. But it was not to be disclosed to nobody, right? Under Bosco's rules, that favoritism, right? Bosco slammed down, he needs this family member because that's what's filling his pocket, right? Getting things moved for him. Whatever crews he had, right? For Bosco on the streets. You know, miss Bosco with all that abuse of power he's doing on Sureño neighborhoods. Cause it ain't even like, yeah, you're game banging against each other on the street, but it stops the minute an individual comes and tells you, you're gonna give me $500, $1,000 a month, and if you start selling before you distribute it, you're gonna show me to cut me a third, just cause soy bonito. Nevertheless, you know, homeboy from Crazy Riders, he took off and he blended. He got in line, right, with the program out here. He was a straight gabacho homie, right, in a respectful way. No Spanish, nothing, but nevertheless, he didn't want to be busted, right? Again, he wasn't aware of what ended up happening. He hit and he took off, right? And then he took off to Mexico. Anyways, he was doing his thing, right, out here. To the sense there was an open war, as I will touch better on, and he was there. But you know, Bosco could not let that go. This individual I'm talking about had love from the homies from Crazy Riders. So, the same individual that got shot by this camarada got sent over there to Crazy Riders and told him, hey, look, he's with the program down there. Bosco says like this, you about to come up with, I believe it was $5,000, not even much. And they will forget what happened and he'll be allowed to do his thing out there. If not, you will be get dealt with as you guys con la luz in the condado. So, you know, the homies from Crazy, they gave them that money up, right? In reality, it's not even a lot, right? But nevertheless, they were Bosco was just playing Crazy Riders, bouncing off that respect and love for his our own homie. Cause the minute they paid up is when we got that call. this individual disrespect me to where he said a whole different thing than what it came down that it was, right? Which it was this other individual disrespecting home with just defending his pride. At the end of the day, a man shouldn't be allowed to tell another man to defend his own pride as a man, right? However, he defends it. But we got the word, and I'm gonna keep it sincere. When we got the word, I known the homie for a lot of years to be solid, but all the homies from West LA down there, they were considered rivals, right? And me personally, I always been a firm believer. Like for example, if I was on a yard, someone had to go, let's say from 18th Street, I would show 18th Street respect and tell them to go touch their homeboy, right? I wasn't them individuals that would touch on somebody and at the same time disrespect the whole neighborhood that Vatos from. For example, you know, a Vato from 18th Street needs to get got, so he puts two, three Vatos from Rockwood on him and tells them Vatos from 18th Street on the yard, you have to take it and watch it happen. That's just part of just tearing down Raza, at least the way I saw it, right? Nevertheless, my request was, dispuesto, me, Tweety, or me, Spanky was there at this time from Anaheim. We'll go ahead and deal with it. But you see, there was different plans. One that me personally, I never understood, right? Which was to have government do it. Basically, send the homie on a mission to clip someone, take whatever's there with them, bring the Halle, then turn him in to the people that Halle was taken from, that he took them out. Basically we caught him. Aquí está. We don't want prados. He didn't have no material with him though. And it's Mexico. What do you think happened when the government grabbed him? Una buena, and then turned him into them other cats. And I never agree with it, He was our gente, our problem. But just to sit on the dope, or just to please someone that's in the wrong, just because he's putting money in your pocket, you see, there's no loyalty there. Everything you think of, leave me questions on different scenarios, and I'll play both angles for you. And then you come tell me that it's possible. Be smart, if you could get to that stage of maturing, doing something for yourself or family, for your family, for those true to you, stay true to yourself, loyal to your loved ones.